Have you ever seen people around your neighborhood wearing gas masks and spraying stuff with spray bottles on a lawn? That stuff might kill bugs and weeds, but it kills lots of other things too. That stuff is called pesticides. So I decided to talk to one of my neighbors. He is an environmental and a soil scientist, and I decided to ask him if he uses pesticides and why or why not. Do you use pesticides?
No, I don't.
And why is that?
I believe pesticides are pointing us in the wrong direction. And they're bad for the environment, they're bad for us, and they also create an industry, a chemical industry around them that is not necessary. So for those three things, I think it's wrong. And we can just change our perception of what the aesthetic of a good yard is. And you can see weeds in a yard and think, that's a good yard. When I see a healthy, perfect yard, I say, that's trouble. Because there's fertilizer, there's a lot of water, and there's pesticides, and there's just no need for it.
Every day, pesticides are used on farms, public places, even your own backyard.
In the past decade, there has been a dramatic increase in infertility, developmental disabilities, immune system disorders, cancer, food allergies, diabetes, asthma and other respiratory diseases, even neurological and behavioral disorders.
According to a recent study done by the University of California, long and short-term exposure to pesticides can increase the risk of getting Parkinson's disease by 70%. Also, a recent study has shown that children born to mothers living within 500 meters of pesticide-treated fields are 6 times more likely to develop autism spectrum disorders. Now that's scary.
Pesticides are not only lethal to us, but to our pets and the wildlife around us as well.
Studies have shown that pesticides can affect the hormonal systems of many types of animals, causing problems with growth and development. What happens is that pesticides act as a barrier between cells and block the reception of hormones throughout the body. This can affect the animal in many different ways, causing problems with living its life and reproducing successfully. Never fear. It's not too late to change our ways and do our part by going organic. There are millions of different ways to keep your yard and garden looking great without pesticides.
I asked my neighbor, Rose Wells, her opinion on pesticides and what she does to keep her garden healthy and lush organically.
Well, I think it's a disaster in lots of ways for the birds, for the earthworms, for the Chesapeake Bay, for the babies, for the adults. And I don't think it's necessary. I think you can have a beautiful garden without pesticides. And my philosophy is if the bugs really want something, I let them have it. And there's plenty more left. And so, as you can see, I gather up the neighbors' grass clippings and use them for mulch. And in the fall, I gather up the neighbors' leaves and use them for mulch too. And then by the next spring, the earthworms have done their work and it enriches the soil. So this soil started out as just red Virginia clay, and now it's nice and brown. So it's lovely soil. And if you dig a little deeper, you'll find earthworms in there, and that's what a garden really needs. You just need to start by restoring the soil. Most of our soil has been ruined with chemicals and with erosion and with careless building of houses. They just clear cut the land and bury construction waste. So you have to just very carefully bring the soil back. And then you can grow anything, and I understand that when plants are healthy, they produce something that repels insects. The other day I was digging here and I saw something move in the soil, and it scared me, and I heard a noise, and when I looked more closely, it was a little bunch of newborn baby bunnies. There were about 7 of them, and they were mewing, and you didn't know they were bunnies except their little ears were flat to their heads, but they were pointy like little bunny ears, and they were just so sweet. And so they're going to eat their share, but you just plant a little extra. And so yes, and so it's basically build the soil. I bury my kitchen scraps. I get every shred of organic matter that I can to build up the soil. When these plants are done, I'll chop them up and just add them to the compost pile. It's just an informal pile in the backyard there. When I pull weeds, I just add them to the general vegetation that's decomposing. So it's kind of a natural system. I save my laundry water and use it on the garden. I don't water. I just have mulched, even with the drought. I lost some plants, but when you mulch real well, you don't need really to water much. So you save water too. When you have a garden, it builds community.
So do your part in making our community a safer and a healthier place to live. Just say no to pesticides.